Hey, I want to welcome everybody in. This is another episode of Rockin with the Brocklin. It's been a little bit since we've had an episode, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I'm very excited to talk about the Nuggets, but I wanted to start out with something I usually wouldn't want to do, but I made this little slideshow just about my top players in the league this far this season. Um, I've been pretty busy with some stuff over like the last few weeks, and there was also the All Star break, so there really wasn't anything to talk about for a week. But definitely don't want to put a time frame on potentially the next episode or anything. But I'm excited to be back and here making another episode. We are about 1 month away from the NBA playoffs, and I could not be more excited. Anyway, I'm going to get it started. These are my top 25 players of the 23 to 24 season so far. Before we get into it, these are three guys that really probably would be on this list. Maybe the only iffy one would be Kyrie Irving, but we'll talk about him a little later. They just haven't played enough games. They both had, or oh, sorry, all three of them have had injuries, and which has affected most of the games that they've missed, with the exception of Ja Morant, who was suspended for 25 games. Joel Embiid would, without a doubt, be top five, more likely than not higher if he was able to play more games. None of these guys have played 70% of their games, which is the minimum amount of games that you need to play to be like on like the stat sheet for like, points, rebounds, all that. Embiid would certainly be up there. He was dominating everyone before he got hurt. He had that 70-point game earlier in the season. Ja Morant would probably be up there as well. He only played 9 games this year, but he was averaging, I think, 24 points and led his team to 6-3, a 6-3 record, which they've only won 23 games all season. So I think he's pretty great player. And then Kyrie, he's the number 2 guy in Dallas right now. He's been just fantastic over the last couple weeks, pretty much since the All-Star break. He's been averaging, I think, 25 a game. And when Luka on the Mavericks is averaging, 34, that's a pretty big deal to be averaging 25 as a number 2 option. He's fantastic, but maybe just not quite in the top 25. Honorable mentions. These guys were just on the cusp. I really wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, but they were just outclassed, I think, just a little. Karl Anthony Towns, when he's been playing this season, the Wolves have been the number 1 team in the West, standings wise. I don't know if they'd be the number 1 team in the playoffs, but they in the regular season they were doing fantastic. Trae Young has been great this season on the Hawks. I believe he's averaging 26 points and 10.5 assists per game. Only problem though is that the Hawks have really been struggling this season. I'd probably put him on the list if they were just even 500. You'll come to see on this list that there's only one player on the list that's on a team under 500. I do value winning highly. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, both coming from the Pelicans. They are the only team in the playoffs that I don't have a top 25 player this season a part of. And I think Zion and Brandon Ingram have been very close in who's been the best player on the Pelicans this season. If you asked me about a month ago, I'd say probably Brandon Ingram. But now I'm leaning a little towards more Zion. They both have very similar stats. I think Zion is at 22, Brandon Ingram's at 21, and they're both at like very similar stats for assists and rebounds as well. Some of the stats that I'll put up, I don't have the same stats for all the players. I just kind of put some more relevant stats to the player to give you more context of why I think they're really good. For example, if there's like a point guard on here, I'm probably not going to show his rebounds unless they're really substantial. If there's a center on here, I'm probably not going to go and show their 3-point percentage. You get the idea. Anyway, we got number 25, Victor Wembanyama, Wemby. He's the only player on here who's not currently in the playoffs or a play-in position. I cannot ignore how great this guy's been, and you can probably tell from the picture he's really big. That guy guarding him, obviously they're both hunched over, but that's Tyrese Halliburton, who is a little later on this list from the Pacers, and he's a 6'5" point guard. Victor Wembanyama is a 7'4" and growing rookie from France. He has been amazing this year. Like one of the best rookies I think I've ever seen in my life. I was too young to see LeBron James as a rookie, and I did see Derrick Rose as a rookie back. That was about what 12, 13 years ago, and that was really awesome to see. But like this guy is legit. 13, and I'll give you a rundown of what the numbers mean at the bottom. So 13 and 45 with a .224. That's not just the team's record, but that's the team's record when the player plays. So when the Spurs play this season, when Wembanyama plays this season, the Spurs are 13 and 45, and the .224 is their win percentage. So they're winning about 22% of their games. That's pretty expected since they weren't really supposed to be doing well at all this season. So like, it's not that big of a deal. 20.7 points per game PPG, 10.3 rebounds per game, 3.4 blocks per game, 1.3 steals per game, and he's shooting a true shooting percentage of 56.5. What a true shooting percentage is it combines all of your different types of shots into just one percentage. So it's like what you're actually shooting from the field. That includes 2-pointers, 3-pointers, and free throws. So between all three of those, he's shooting 56.5%, which is really good. If you're above 50, that's really good. Cool. I hope the rundown wasn't too convoluted, but yeah, I'll head into the next one. Number 24, Paolo Banchero. He is a second-year player from, I believe, Italy. He was the first overall pick last year in Rookie of the Year. And the Magic have been just great this season. They've been a really big surprise this season. They've had a lot of their teams very young, similar to the Thunder. Banchero has been their best player this season. Keep in mind these stats. By the time you're hearing this, I'm recording this on what is today, Friday I want to say 15th. Yeah, today is Friday the 15th. So these might be a little outdated by the time this video goes up. It's probably going to go out Monday the 18th. But with him playing, they have won 58% of their games. He's averaging nearly 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists on 54.7% true shooting. He's been really good, and currently the Magic are 5th in the East, which is way higher than anybody else saw them at this point in the season. Good stuff from Orlando. Number 23, Jaylen Brown. He's the number 2 option on currently the best team in the league record-wise. The Celtics they were the first team to get to 50 wins, and Jaylen Brown has played in a lot of those. Their winning percentage, all the Celtics players on this list are going to be a little inflated just because, they have such a great team. But still, Jaylen Brown is, he's having like an off year this year, but it's really just because their team's gotten better. They're winning 76% of their games with him playing. He's also at 23 points, 5.5 rebounds, more than a steal per game, and 58% true shooting. Really impressive at a number 2 option. And he directly impacts winning as well. We'll talk about it a little later, but he played a game against Denver on prime time about 2 weeks ago, and it was really good. He had over 40 points. Number 22, Paul George. The Clippers have been really good this season since the James Harden trade. They did lose like their first 5 or 6 games in a row, but they did it. There was a point in time where the Clippers had the best record in the league for about 2 months. 38 and 21 with Paul George, 64% of their games won, and he's averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, and about a steal and a half per game on almost 60% true shooting. This also doesn't show how good of a defender he is, but he is a great perimeter defender, and he's going to be important for the Clippers as we go into the playoffs. I just hope that they can stay healthy. Number 21, Damian Lillard. Picture of him right there was after he hit the game winner buzzer beater 3 over Sacramento about a month or two ago. The Bucks, in a lot of people's eyes, have been disappointing, but I don't really get why they'd say that. Like, I guess people said that they would want them to be more up with the Celtics, but the Celtics have just been far and away the best team in the East this year. And like at the end of the day, the Bucks still have a great record. They're nearly 20 games over 500, and they're number 2 in the East right now. Like they treated the Bucks like they were the Pistons. Like it was kind of insane. Like, you know, I didn't really expect them to click instantly, but like they're still a really good team. That being Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Regardless, though, this is Damian Lillard's first year as a number 2 option, and although I don't agree with him being a starter in the All-Star game, I personally thought that should have been Jalen Brunson. He has had a good year. I'm not going to deny that at all. The Bucks are 42-19 when he plays. Nearly 69% of the games they're winning. He's averaging about 24.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6.8 assists per game, and 59% true shooting. I don't really say that's a down year. I mean, he's just in a different role now. You know, he's still having a good year. Number 20, Bam Adebayo. The Heat. He's essential for them. He's having a great year. A couple days before this video, he was averaging a little more, but he's putting up almost 20 a game, 10.5 rebounds, 1.1 steals, and a block per game. He's seriously a perennial defensive player of the year contender. It would be surprising to me if he's not a finalist this year as well, as the Heat have one of the best defenses in the league. Shooting 56% from the floor, true shooting, and you know the team record is only 31-25 with him, but that's still above 500. It's 55% of their games they're winning. The Heat are, man, they've been like, they're very wishy-washy. They're like Charlie Brown of the NBA. They lost like 7 in a row, and then I think they won like 10 out of 11, and now they have lost a couple. But then the other night, yesterday he had a game winner over the Pistons. That was pretty cool. We'll bring that up a little later as well. But yeah, Bam is an amazing defender, and on top of it, he's also putting up 20 points per game this season. So expect the Heat to make some noise in the playoffs. Number 19, De'Aaron Fox. This might be an interesting placement considering the next person after this. But De'Aaron Fox, he is the Kings' number 1 option. He's won nearly 60% of the games with them this season. 27 points per game, 5.5 assists, and nearly 2 steals a game on top of 57% true shooting. He's been great for the Kings, and he's one of the fastest guys I think I've ever seen in the league. Like if he gets a steal, like that's a free layup. He's just off to the races. Really good player, really clutch player as well. However, I personally don't think he's the best player on the Kings, and that'll lead me right into number 18. Domantas Sabonis, or Domas Sabonis, his nickname. I think he's been the best player on the Kings this season. Like, he hasn't missed a game. He's the league leader in triple doubles and double doubles. Something that I thought would be pretty hard to take away from Jokić. They're winning 58% of the games with him playing. He's putting up, I mean, these might sound like modest numbers considering I put him above De'Aaron Fox, but 20 points per game, 13.5 rebounds. He's also the rebound leader in the league. 8.5 assists as a big man, on top of 65% true shooting, and he hasn't missed a game. So 100% of the games, league leader in rebounds, triple doubles, double doubles. He runs their offense. He is like the centerpiece of their team. He's a good passer. I know he's only putting up 20 a game, but he facilitates a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think Sabonis is perpetually underrated. I was shocked that he was not named an All Star. That was a complete snub. But I understand there's a lot of talent in the West. I mean the league as well, but more so the West. So yeah, 18 Sabonis, 17 Jamal Murray. Um, that I don't really have to say much about it. He's the except for I think Wembenyama, he's the only person on this list who hasn't made an All Star team. But anybody who knows, and I'm not even trying to be biased here, but anybody who knows ball knows that Jamal Murray is like top 20. Um, 38 and 13 with him. It's actually insane how good the Nuggets have been with him playing this season. We're winning like 75% of our games. Without him, I think the Nuggets have been closer to 500 this season. Still above, but closer. He's putting up 21 points per game, 6.5 assists per game. He's also shooting a career best 41.5% from three on 58% true shooting. Defensively, he's, I think, probably the Nuggets' weakest starter, but he still like scraps. Like he'll still try and do the best he can. He is pretty oversized for a point guard. He's 6'4". Excuse me, big yawns. But on top of he might put like up like modest numbers, but he always shows up in big games, and he's one of the clutchest players in the league for sure. He enjoys like the big moments, and he's the number two option on the defending champs. He's got to be good, or else we wouldn't have won the chip. Yeah, moving on, we got Jalen Brunson on the Knicks coming in at 16. I have a lot good to say about this guy. And by the way, he's been killing it the last few games. He's been putting up, I think he put up like 40 points or more in back to back games. 37 and 23 with him. He's putting up 27 a night, 6.5 assists, 40.5% from three, and then 59% true shooting. He's been the number one option on the Knicks. They have been without Julius Randle over the last, I want to say, 6 weeks or so, maybe a little less. That's definitely going to hurt them, but that's not hurting Jalen Brunson's case at all. I think he's a great point guard, and it's kind of shocking still that the Mavericks just let him walk in free agency because he's a dog. I'm not really a fan of watching the Knicks play. I don't really like their style, but like Jalen Brunson's a dog. Number 15, we got Jimmy Butler. His stats this season maybe would not scream out 15th best player in the league. And just so we're clear, this is a regular season ranking. I on a future episode, I do want to have my rankings for players going into the postseason. That'll be really interesting, especially with injuries, to see who's healthy and who's not. If this was a ranking going into the playoffs, Jimmy Butler is without a doubt top 5. Absolutely. This man is an animal in the playoffs. And you can also see on the right, I put a second picture for him because I put his little, his media day picture up when he was emo because I just thought it was so funny. But no, he is an animal. Playoff Jimmy is real. They're only a game above 500 with him playing this season, but he's still putting up 21.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, a steal. He's shooting extremely well from three. He is not known as a three-point shooter, but he's shooting 42.5% from three and 62.5% true shooting. So, Jimmy Butler, just wait till the playoffs, and we're going to see an animal unleashed. Number 14, we got Tyrese Halliburton. I definitely would have ranked him a little higher, but unfortunately injuries had come up. There was a point where I didn't actually think he was going to be on this list at all, just due to games he's missed. But he was able to. He's been playing a lot more recently, and the Pacers had such a hot start to the beginning of the year. They kind of cooled off a little bit. But, they're still a good team. It'll be interesting to see if they can do anything in the playoffs. Maybe win a series. I think that would be a great goal for them if they could just get one series. But, it's going to be tough, especially since they have such a young team. 30 and 24 with him. He's putting up a little more than a little more than 20 and a half points per game. He is the league leader in assists. He is going at 11 and a half assists per game, which is fantastic. He's also getting a steal per game, and shooting 61% true shooting. And I mean, another reason why I have to put him on here is that he is the captain of one of the best offenses in league history. The Pacers this season are number one in points per game, putting up 123 a game, which is absurd. Some of the teams that they are rivaling in terms of points per game are the Warriors back when they had Kevin Durant in 2017 to 2019, and some of the teams from the 80s. I believe the all-time leader is actually a Nuggets team from the 80s, and it's because the pace of the game, and especially in the 80s, was a lot more fast-paced. There were numerous rules and things that went into effect that made possessions much more frequent, and so the scoring was more or less inflated during that time. But yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, he's been a fantastic point guard this season. We'll see if Indiana can do anything going forward. Number 13, Donovan Mitchell. He has been great this season when he's been able to play. They're winning nearly 69% of their games when he plays. Dude's putting up almost 28 points per game, 6 assists, almost 2 steals, and 60% from the field. The Cavaliers have been a really nice surprise this season. And not to say like they were bad last season. They definitely weren't. They finished with the 4 seed. I know they kind of got punked in the playoffs by the Knicks. But I think that they're playing better this year. And they had that amazing half-court shot, which I'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell he's been great. I'm interested to see where the Cavs could go. I would say this season they have to win a playoff series. They're number 3 in the East, the best they've been playing. They're actually only a game and a half out of being number 2. They could sneak up on the Bucks again. But they gotta get something going because they have a good young roster. They just gotta start winning, I feel. All right, number 12, we got LeBron James. I don't think this is controversial, but I'm not having him inside the top 10. Not because I'm trying to disrespect him, but I genuinely believe that there have been 11 better players this season. The Lakers are a couple games over 500 as it is with him playing. They're currently in the 10 spot. It's really funny, actually, because the Warriors and Lakers fans on Twitter have been beefing about taking over the 9 spot from each other, and it's just really funny because I don't know, like, the Warriors win and then they go to the 9 spot and they make some joke to the Lakers, and then the Warriors lose and Lakers win. It's the same thing, and it's just really funny seeing these two fan bases beef over the 9 spot in the West. The Nuggets got bigger fish to fry, but I guess choose your battles wisely, I'd say. But anyway, LeBron, I'm not going to act like that he's still not amazing. The fact that he's 39 and he's putting up 25, 7, 8 and a steal per game on top of shooting 40% from 3. Remember, he's not a very good 3-point shooter, at least historically, and nearly 62% from true shooting. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this is not historical and amazing. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. The ability that he's able to compete at this stage in his career is amazing. But just from an objective standpoint, there have just been better players this season. Number 11, Devin Booker. The point book test or experiment has been, I think, up and down. He's not, well, up and down for the Suns standards. Obviously, they're still a good team, but as it stands right now, they're 8th in the West. They have a big risk of being in the play-in. There's actually a 3-way tie between 6, 7, and 8 in the West right now. It's the Kings, Mavericks, and Suns. But Booker has been hurt this season, but when he's been playing very well. Um, he hasn't played in a ton of games. He's only played in 52, but they are winning about 64% of them. 27.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 7 assists, and shooting as he usually does well from the field at over 60%. All right, top 10. This is where I might get a little controversial, but I really believe in my number 10 guy, Anthony Edwards. This guy he's unbelievable. I'm not joking. Like, I know there are memes about this guy and how he's, Michael Jordan's son, but he actually, like, looks like Michael Jordan. Like, he kind of looks like him in his face. He plays like him. He wears the little armband on his left arm sometimes. He's extremely athletic. He's very passionate, and he's been leading the Timberwolves to, one of the best records in the West and in the league. They've fallen a little bit recently, but that's not on Anthony Edwards. He's still been amazing. 43-20 with him, 26 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal per game. But on top of everything, he makes impact plays. There's a video that I'll show a little later about one of the blocks that he got towards the end of a game, and it was insane. All right, number 9 on the list, we got Anthony Davis. There's always something about Anthony Davis to be said. A lot of people believe that he could be the best player in the league. There's certainly a point in time where it was debatable whether he was top 5, maybe even top 3 at one point. But he does have a history of injuries, which, to be fair, he's played in a lot of games this season. But he always has the mentality question as well, because, even from an outside perspective, it just does look like sometimes he's not as invested as he should be. Regardless, though, this guy has been, in my opinion, the Lakers' best player throughout the season. He had a wild stat line a couple days ago where he had 27 points, 25 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 blocks. And it was, I couldn't believe anything like it. He was the first player to ever have a stat line like that. They're winning about 56% of their games with him playing. He's putting up almost 25 a game, 12 rebounds. He's one of the best rebounders in the league. 2.5 blocks per game, and 1.2 steals on 61.6% shooting. Anthony Davis, offensive force and defensive force. Certainly going to have to watch out for him in the play-in, and maybe if they make the playoffs. Number 8, Steph Curry. In my preseason rankings of my players, I would have had Steph Curry a lot higher. He's not having a bad season either. He's just not having a great season, I feel, because he was having a great season last year, especially towards the end. The Warriors have been struggling, to say the least. They are a couple games over 500 now, but I think a big part of that has been Draymond Green coming back. He had his suspensions and all that, and I think he's in a better spot. But still, it's, Steph Curry, I'm not going to question his greatness. He's a 4-time champion. He's a finals MVP. He's a 2-time regular MVP. But, it's just part of the Warriors' success is why he's lower on this list right now. Still 27 points per game, 5 assists, 40.7% from 3. That's not the highest number we've seen, but you have to remember how many threes he takes a game. He shoots in volumes way higher than most people. He shoots the most threes in the league. He's still shooting 62% from true shooting. So, Steph Curry, he's got to be top 10. Number 7, Kevin Durant. Coming in at 58% of their games won with him. He's averaging 28.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, almost 5.5 assists, and a block, or 1.3 blocks per game. 42.5% from 3. He doesn't take a ton, but he's been great this season. And then 63.5% true shooting. there's a knock on Kevin Durant that he was a really bad defender, and I think that he has certainly shut people up, including me, because I was very critical on him before. And I still am in other regards, but in terms of how he's played this season, he's been great. I got nothing else to say about it. He's been the leading force for why the Suns are hopefully going to be in the playoffs. They have other issues, but Kevin Durant is not one of them. All right, number 6, Kawhi Leonard. I did not think I would be putting him this high. The Clippers. I mean, it would be a shame to not have him this high because he's been the best player on the Clippers this season. They have been struggling a little lately, but Kawhi Leonard has been extremely healthy this season. He's played. I think he's only missed 4 games to this point. 64% of the games they're winning. He's averaging almost 24, 6 rebounds, and 1.7 steals per game. On top of that, shooting a just staggering 42.6% from 3 and nearly 63 from true shooting. Got to remember, though, that 23.7 points per game, that's a little low, but they got so many killers on that team. They got Kawhi, they got Paul George, they got Russell Westbrook, they got James Harden. They also got Norman Powell coming off the bench, who's putting up like 18 or 19 a game off the bench. And Kawhi, on top of this, is a fantastic defender. He did the best that he possibly could on prime LeBron James when he was on the Spurs. And, he's usually guarding the opponent's best player on the floor, unless they're maybe like a center. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard, he's been fantastic. All right, number 5, Jason Tatum. And I think that this top 5 is pretty unanimous this season. It's pretty much going to be the top 5 leading MVP candidates. Tatum has been the best player on the best team record-wise. I keep saying best team record-wise because I know the Celtics have the best record, but I don't think they're the best team personally. They've won nearly 80% of their games with him, 49-13. That's wow. That is very impressive. 27 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game. He's also thrown up 5 assists and shooting 60% from the field. When you remember, he's down a little bit in points, but it's the same thing with Jaylen Brown. He's also down in points, but it's because they have better pieces that are scoring more. I mean, their starting 5 is ridiculous. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, who is one of the most underrated players in the league. He's putting up, I think, 15 a game as a 4th option. Porzingis at center, and I think he's almost at 20. And then Drew Holiday, who he's not a big-time scorer right now, but he's an amazing defender. So, yeah, Jason Tatum, top 5 for sure. Number 4, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I would put him a little higher up, I think, in the MVP rankings. But SGA is... I was wrong about this guy. I put him at 10th coming into the season. I barely gave him top 10. Because I wasn't really sold about his game. I knew that he would score 30 points per game, and that's what he's done this season as well. Excuse me. But the Thunder have been one of the biggest surprises in the league this season. They're currently number 1 in the West, only by a half game. But they're one of the youngest teams in the league. He's one of their most veteran players, and he's only 25. But I'm telling you, I called him a free throw merchant. I wasn't sold on his game, and I take it back. He still kind of I don't want to say he relies on free throws, but it's certainly a part of his game. But I'm not going to take away the dominance that this guy does in the mid range and driving. He's outstanding when it comes to that. 31 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 2 steals. He's also the league leader in steals. Great defender as well. And he's shooting 64.5% true shooting. Just amazing stuff, and a really good story from the young Thunder team doing so well this year. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah, perennial best player in the league. Always, every season, he's in this discussion. He's been amazing. He's a great defender. He's unstoppable driving to the basket. If this guy had a jump shot, I think he actually might be the greatest player in NBA history from a skills point of view. But they're still winning, even though the Bucks are in a quote off year. They're still winning 64% of their games. They had the coaching change around the All-Star break, which was really awkward and kind of weird because usually you wouldn't fire your coach when you're second in the East. But they did. But he's still putting up 31 points per game, 11 rebounds, 6.5 assists, a 1.2 steals per game as well on 65.4% true shooting. I know a lot of his shots are dunks and layups, but it's still really impressive because he is really bad from the free throw line and really bad from like 3. So yeah, Giannis, he's been fantastic. Number 2, Luka. I originally had Giannis at number 2 and Luka at number 3, but I swapped them around because these stats speak for themselves. They're winning 60% of their games with Luka playing. He's the complete drive in the Mavericks offense. Man, I keep yawning. Sorry about that. I'm not even supposed to be tired right now. He's putting up 34.3 points per game, 9 rebounds, 9.8 assists. He is almost averaging a triple-double. 1.4 steals per game and 62.2% from true shooting. He's the league leader in scoring right now. He's just amazing. I watched the Nuggets Mavericks game that happened yesterday. He's just amazing. Defensively, I don't want to say he's that bad, but he's not good. He kind of lets people go by him sometimes, and the same with Jokić as well. But Jokić is like long enough, and also Jokić has got really good hands as well, so he's always like swiping, even though he's not a shot blocker per se. But Luka has unlimited range. His pump fakes are unbelievable. His step back jumpers cannot be stopped. He's a great passer. He's very smart. He's a funny guy as well. I like seeing interviews with him. But yeah, Luka is, without a doubt, I feel the second best player in the league right now. Originally had Giannis there, but I thought about it a little more and changed my mind. Number 1, there's bias, but this is also like the opinion right now. Jokić is the best player in the league. Nuggets are winning 71% of their games with him playing. He's putting up 26 points per game, 12.5 rebounds almost, 9 assists. He's actually closer to averaging a triple-double than Luka, which is saying something, believe me. Also 1.3 steals per game, and he's shooting 65.1% from true shooting. That is the second biggest mark by anybody on this list, only behind Giannis. However, Jokić does take quite a few jump shots as well, so take it as you will. His stats speak for themselves. He's the defending Finals MVP. If somehow there's a stat to include assisted assists, like a hockey assist, like one guy passes it to another guy who passes it to the guy who scores, he'd probably be somewhere in like 15 or 16 or something. He completely runs the offense, and he's one of the most dominant scorers in the league as well. He just doesn't always choose to be, for the team's success. He's selfless. He's very intelligent, and, I think the Nuggets have a really good shot of going back-to-back here, which would be the first time that anybody could since the Warriors back in 2017 and 2018. So, that's my top 25 players list. This definitely went on longer than I wanted it to, but gonna finish it off talking about the Nuggets' recent games, and then I'll show a few other highlights from around the league, and then my MVP ladder. I'll kind of talk about it a little more. All right. So we're gonna do a speed run of the Nuggets games because I don't want this episode to be an hour and a half long. Um, but anyway, this is the last game that that we didn't talk about, or sorry, the first game that we didn't talk about since I think February 8th or 9th. This was the game against the Kings where we just got absolutely destroyed. From the get go, it was over. Malik Monk was great in this game. Sacramento played with a lot of heart. We played with none. Jokić had 23, 8, and 7, but it didn't really matter because everybody else seemed off. We got destroyed by 29. Moving on. This game as well, the game after that, we got wrecked again, but this time by the Bucks. No excuse. All the starters played except Jamal Murray did. Actually, no. KCP and Jamal Murray both got injured in this game. It wasn't very serious, but it was enough to take him out of the game. I believe it was an ankle with Murray and something with KCP. But yeah, we got wrecked. Giannis was amazing in this game. He had 36 and 18 rebounds, along with 3 steals, 2 blocks. Yeah. And then this game, we played the Kings again at home. We didn't have KCP or Jamal Murray for this game. And this really was not a very good Jokić game either. We still almost won the game because Aaron Gordon was fantastic in this game. He had 25 and 15, and not to mention Michael Porter was also good. But De'Aaron Fox was too much for us, the guy. He was on the list as well, number 19. He's very clutch, and I think he scored like 8 points in like the final like minute and a half or something. He was crazy. But this was the last game before All-Star break. All-Star break, we went in, and I'm not going to talk about the All-Star game because honestly, I don't care. It was a complete embarrassment to the sport of basketball, and we really should change it going forward because there should never be a game where teams are scoring over 200 points. That's absurd. There's absolutely no defense or no incentive for any of the players to play well. But yeah, after the All-Star break, now this is where the Nuggets have started to cook. Their first game back was a really free win against Washington. It's Washington, so, I'm expecting them to win. Jokić was absurd in this game, shooting 10 for 10 from the field. He did miss a free throw, though. He was 1 for 2 from the line. And on top of it, he had 21 points, 19 rebounds, and 15 assists. That's an amazing stat line. This was a complete rout, though. Like, it was not close at any point. Sorry to the Wizards, but, that's how it's got to be. Game after this was closer, but still, a pretty good blowout. Porter, absolutely, and we'll talk about him a little later. Porter absolutely popped off. 5 of 10 from 3. He had 34 points. We didn't have Jamal for this game because he had been kind of off and on with injuries, and this was a back-to-back. But Jokić with another monster triple-double. He had 29, 15, and 14, shooting 12 of 17 from the field. I do want to say one thing about this game, though. Where is he? Oh, I was going to talk about Scoot. I'm thinking of a different game. Scoot Henderson did not play in this game. However, DeAndre Ayton was actually pretty good, dominating. And, the Blazers, they're the Blazers, but, they still always play us a little tough, I feel. Game after this was against Golden State with another Jokić masterpiece. He had 32, 16, and 16. And the Warriors were doing well until the Nuggets just pulled away in the third quarter, and then especially in the fourth quarter. Murray was huge in this game too. He had 27, but they don't have anything to stop Jokić at all. Most teams don't, but the Warriors are a very undersized team as it is. He just runs all over them. Klay Thompson in this game, I remember, had 23 points, but they were all in the first half. He did not score a point in the second half. It was kind of kind of insane to see because, the first half he was going nuts and I was like, okay, we got a game. But, yeah, didn't really get many shots off in the second half either. Next game, we got our revenge against Sacramento. Granted, De'Aaron Fox was not playing this night. And Sabonis actually got cut kind of near his eye in the latter parts of the game. But this was still a good win. This was definitely another facilitator Jokić game. He only had 14, but he also had 14 rebounds and 11 assists. Murray was killer in this game. He shot 13 of 15, a 5 of 6 from 3, and finished with a game-high 32. That was a solid win that we could finally get something against the Kings because they had been beating us a lot this year. I think they won the season series 3-1 or maybe just 2-1. Next game after this was on the leap year. It was a finals rematch, and wow, was this game brutal. Murray ended up actually spraining his ankle in the second quarter of the game, and he only played a little more than a quarter. This was a really gritty game. Jokić did not have a great night, but Michael Porter Jr. was fantastic. He finished the game with a game-high 30 points. And, when you only score 103, that's a lot. Not a ton of scoring in this game individually, as the defenses were really running high. Man, Miami plays tough defense. Bam had a good game. He had 22 and 8. Jimmy Butler had a good game as well. He just wasn't that efficient for the field. But yeah, super good game. I'm glad we could escape this one with a win because it really came down to the wire. The 6 points is a little misleading. It was pretty tight for most of it except for the first quarter. The Nuggets dominated the first quarter, but the Heat they're a very resilient squad and they were able to come back. Next game after this, that's funny. So the Nuggets won this game, but this was the night that LeBron hit 40,000 career points. And it's a lot of the Lakers and Warriors games are pretty similar in regards to they seem to be close until about the fourth quarter, and then the Nuggets kind of just take over. And that's exactly what happened here again. Obviously, props to LeBron for hitting 40,000. That is a mark that nobody has ever had in the NBA. That's amazing. But this game was once again about how the Nuggets are just the better team. We own the Lakers and the Warriors. Those teams that are fighting for the 9 and 10 seed, if they see us in a series, they're getting swept. I'm sorry, but I just think that's how it's going to go. We don't lose to them. It just seems like that. Not to mention Michael Porter literally having a perfect game in this game. I mean, he had 25 points, 10 rebounds, also 4 assists. And if you know anything about Michael Never Swing the Rock Porter Jr., you know that that's pretty good. Jamal Murray was also really good in this game. He finished with 11 assists. He was definitely more of a point guard. Jokić with 35, 10, and 7. But one thing I do want to point out here is that Michael Porter shot 10 for 10 from the field, including 5 for 5 from 3. He did not miss a shot. Literally the most efficient he possibly could have been. And another game where it just seemed like Anthony Davis was uninterested or scared or whatever. It's just, he just really struggles against the European guys like Jokić and especially Sabonis. AD is 0-10 in his career against Sabonis, which is wild to me. But this is further proving that the Nuggets own the Lakers. And I want to show you guys a video real quick. You remember all those circus shots that Jokić hit over the Lakers in last year's playoffs? Well, he hit another one. So take a look at this real quick.
Up by the elbow, 4 on the shot clock. Jokić going to have to put it up. Falling away, it's up. Shot, he banks it in. Another circus shot from Nikola Jokić.
Unreal. That one nearly wasn't as big time as the other 2 or 3 actually, but classic. He's just falling away and right over Anthony Davis. That's how it goes. Next game, This was the first game the Nuggets lost since the All-Star break. This was a really weird game. They were down by 22 in the third quarter, and we actually managed to come back and force it to overtime. But then Kevin Durant just took over and was insane in overtime. I think he had like 11 points in overtime and then the last minute and a half. KD was amazing. He well, okay. He was really good. I don't want to say he was amazing because he did have 34 shots to get 35 points, but he was clutch when it mattered most. This game, Porter again was really good. Jokić, I felt, could have been a little more aggressive shooting the ball, but he still had a good game. He had 25 and 16. The biggest problem though is that he had 7 turnovers, which it was like, okay, actually, I'm not gonna fool myself on this. This was not a good game from Jokić. He was being very lazy with the ball, and he had a turnover to assist ratio of, what is that, like 1.4 to 1. That's really bad. Ed Murray was really good, but it wasn't enough to quite get us there. He did hit a clutch shot down the stretch, but Kevin Durant responded with a 3. So yeah, that was the only game we lost to this point. This game was potentially the most important game of the season across the entire league, because this is a potential finals matchup. The Celtics and the Nuggets, it seems like they're on a collision course. It seemed like they were going to meet, especially when Milwaukee was eliminated in the first round last year. It seemed like the Nuggets and the Celtics were going to meet in the finals. But we know that Miami had that amazing run where they were able to go up 3-0 on the Celtics and then lose 3 straight, and then they won Game 7, which was wild. But yeah, this was the game I was talking about. Jaylen Brown was amazing in. He had 41 points. Tatum sucked in this game. Like, he was bad. I think he had like 8 points in the first quarter and 7 the rest of the game, or maybe flipped on that. 5 of 30. He wasn't aggressive with the ball. Jaylen Brown was doing everything for them offensively. Porzingis was decent too, but yawning again. But Tatum has to be the guy here. This is the biggest game of the season. They had the best record in the league. They still do. And they were coming into the defending champs on primetime. TNT, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet. And, that they just, like, not to take anything away from the Nuggets, but, like, Tatum was awful. He just, with the exception of Game 7 last year against the Sixers, he just doesn't really show up in big games for the most part. The Nuggets, though, had a very balanced attack. Gordon had 16 big points. He was huge. Jokić was amazing again as well. Anyway, this was an amazing game to watch. It was the 2 heavyweight titans going at it on national TV, and I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of the end of it because there were some very exciting plays.
Teams. Jokić and Porzingis, he spins off him, miss it. Oh! Aaron Gordon! The follow jam! Woo!
Interesting shot.
So yeah, Gordon hits an amazing putback slam, and then Drew Holiday just comes out of nowhere and hits 2 threes in a row.
Not afraid, and Drew Holiday! Clutch three-pointer in the corner! 2 points.
But then, as per always, this is the Nuggets knockout move. Possibly the most unstoppable play in basketball right now.
Clutch three-pointer in the corner! 2-point gain. Jokić a couple of spins. Jokić the hook. No! He leaves it for Gordon! What a pass! A hook pass!
And that was the play that everyone was talking about the next day. Jokić, he goes up right for the hook shot, which a lot of people think, and Porzingis, not sure. It could have been maybe an offensive foul on Jokić, but honestly I think Porzingis kind of flopped. But you can see the defense collapse around him, and Gordon is wide open in the dunker spot. Jokić could also make this hook shot, but he knows if he just throws it up anywhere near, Gordon's gonna put it right in. And Tatum was too late. Gordon has the positioning on him. Yep. That's how it's done. Anyway, moving on to the next game. This game was interesting. It got kind of close in the third quarter, but the Nuggets were actually up by I think like 34 at halftime. It was kind of a beatdown for the most part, but Murray was exceptional in this game. 6 for 9 from 3, and he finished with a season high 37. I think he's got that twice now. Really standard game for Jokić, just 26, 8 and 6, kind of low actually for his standards. But this was a beatdown. And real quick before I forget about it, I did want to talk about Peyton Watson in the Celtics game. He had 11 clutch points off the bench, including 2 blocks and a steal. Peyton Watson is one of our best young players for sure. I'm really excited to see if he plays in the playoffs. Moving on though, the Raptors. Oh my goodness. The Raptors were missing like their 3 best players in this game. Scotty Barnes wasn't playing. They had Grady Dick starting. And the Nuggets got way down in the second quarter. And then in the third quarter, we got down by 22. But a furious, and I mean furious, comeback was made. Jokić had one of the most iconic games he's ever had in his career in this game. He finished with 35 points, 17 rebounds, 12 assists, and 6 steals and 2 blocks. A stat line like this has never been recorded in NBA history before, similar to the Anthony Davis one I talked about earlier. It was amazing. Murray had a really great game as well, having 26, and then Gordon and Porter had 19 each. We really should have never been in this position where we had to come back from 22 down to the Raptors, but they did, and it was awesome. Next game, another match against the Heat. This is the first game that they had on the current 4-game road trip. Once again, like brutal defensive style game. It was gritty. Jokić, he didn't score a ton, but he also he was more involved with the game than just that. I thought Bam Adebayo did a really good job limiting Jokic's scoring, but he was able to find Gordon, and especially Porter was huge in this game for us. Murray really struggled from the field, but he was still able to run things while Jokić was on the bench. You can look at some of the scoring on here, and Porter had the most points in the game by a lot. He only had 25, but it was awesome to see that we took the number 1 seed back with this game from the Thunder, which we've been alternating with them because we play on different nights. Next game after this, against the Spurs. This was a game which was closer than it should have been, all things considered. Wembanyama, it was cool to see him play. I don't always get to see him play in real time. He did really struggle with the fouls and some turnovers, but he also, he's a very good defender. So it was cool to see that. Jokić was dominant, to say the least, and the bench was huge in this game. Reggie Jackson, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Justin Holiday, and Zeke Naji, all combining for, 36 plus 11, 47 points off the bench. That was really cool to see. Definitely also a facilitator game more for Jamal Murray. He finished with 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. Jamal Murray almost had a triple-double, which was really cool to see. But it's always cool to see like new prospects against like the current superstars and just see how they did. And all things considered, like Jokić had he still had 31, but like he wasn't as effective passing the ball as normally. So props to Wemby for that. All right, and then we are caught up with this game that I watched today. I had some big life events going on yesterday, so I watched this game today. This was actually one of the greatest games of the year, the season. I mean, you can tell from the thumbnail here that Kyrie Irving did something special, which I'll show you in just a minute. Jokić was not really good in this game. Murray was pretty good. He was a lot better towards the in the fourth quarter. He had 12 points of his 23 in the fourth. Luka, as per usual, was amazing. He had 37 points and 10 rebounds. And then Kyrie Irving was... he only had 24, but these were all very like clutch time buckets, like the end of the third quarter, end of the fourth quarter. The Mavericks, I mean, they just, you know, they just slightly outplayed us. One thing about this game that was awful to watch as a fan was the Nuggets were just getting dominated on the rebounding end. I want to actually take a look at how many rebounds the Mavericks had. They had 60 rebounds compared to the Nuggets 37. They out-rebounded us by 23. Oh my gosh, that is horrendous. Jokić can only do so much. Porter, hell, only had 7 rebounds. He's got to get more involved there, you know. He still did have a good game, though. Porter was, I feel, definitely a big factor as to why we were in the game. But, man... I can't even be mad. I'm going to show you what happened in this game because I'm honestly not mad at what happened. I'm just mad that it like had to be like this because the Nuggets, like, we had a very poor Jokić game and a slightly below average game from Murray, and then also the bench sucked. No offense to Christian Brown. He was actually pretty good. And Jackson, but Peyton Watson was not it today. Justin Holiday was getting cooked by Luka. Zeke Naji was not... it was a disaster. But we had a bad Jokić game, a mediocre Murray game, and we also got out-rebounded by 23, and they only won by 2. So I'm not, like, worried at all. Like, honestly, like, shout out to the Mavericks. They've been playing well lately, but nothing to cry about home. So I'll show you guys a little bit of what happened in the final minute of this game.
They get him to come up in the pick and roll and then on the switch. So they are targeting Luka in these late game defensive moments.
That lethal Murray-Jokić two-man action. Under a minute to go. Doncic in a tie game. Doncic working Murray, fading away. No! Rebound, knocked out of bounds by Kleber. Denver ball with a chance to take the lead.
So, you know, Luka he plays a lot of iso ball. This was a really good look for him. And, you know, he kind of kicks out that leg, so you can't even really get too close to him or you're going to hit him. But it just gets knocked out of bounds by Dallas. And, you know, at this point I'm thinking, man, Denver has a really good chance of winning this game, especially since they can go 2-for-1 here.
2-for-1 opportunity here for Denver, which would allow them to play straight up D if they execute it. And then have time for another possession. But Murray taking his time. Here's Murray, 30 seconds to go. Murray a three, you bet! The blue arrow delivers! Denver trail.
He's cold. He is really cold. That was a great shot to put us up by 3. And then I don't even know if this is a complete defensive breakdown, just slightly, but they just gave Luka too much room.
By 13 with 8:35 to go. They've been on a 20-4 run.
And upon rewatching this is a complete defensive breakdown because Luka sets a screen for Irving and Gordon should have been staying with Luka, but he got caught under the screen from Hardaway. And this is just a wide open shot.
Since Doncic to tie, he got it!
You know, he's going to hit that. That's Luka. You know, this is Luka magic.
105 all. The slightest of differences game and shot clock. Pressure from Dallas.
This is where it goes downhill.
Jason Kidd has screamed, don't foul, no fouls.
And Denver can hold for a final.
So I like what happens here. The only problem is that there's too much time on the clock, and you'll see why we get burnt.
Look here. 7 seconds left. Murray, the pull-up, back iron, no, rebound hard.
I like Murray taking this shot because there's a lot of... He's got a lot of space. Like, this is like an open jumper. You know, who is that? Lively Jr. or somebody on their team. Yeah, he's got the position. This is a wide open elbow jumper. He makes this 4 out of 5 times, but
Murray, the pull-up, back iron.
he just missed it, and we didn't have good rebounding for it. And Luka he's very smart, by the way. He's immediately calling for a timeout. And they get the ball with a little less than 3 seconds left, and then this happens.
Timeout, Dallas. Kleba to inbound. Kleba looking in for Irving. Irving for the win. Oh my! A southpaw finish from Kyrie Irving. Just absurd. Just in for Dallas.
I can't believe that this happens. Jokić somehow gets switched on to Kyrie, who's all the way over here at this point. And, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like this is like the most unreal shot I've ever seen or unreal finish I've even seen this season. Personally, I think Jokic's buzzer beater against the Warriors was more impressive. But, like, this is tough. Like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Like, Gordon, again, gets stuck on the screen, so Jokić has to pick up Irving. And Porter is doing a really good job, trying to just get rid or give Kleba or whatever his name is a tough time inbounding the ball. And KCP was doing a great job on Luka because everybody thought that it was probably going to Luka. But then Kyrie just comes out of nowhere and hits a falling away left-handed hook over Jokić. That's tough, man.
In for Irving. Irving for the win.
Unreal. Just crazy. Wow. Once again, not even upset because that was just really cool to see. That was a classic game though. Like this was one of the best games of the season. Not super high scoring, but the stars were out. Yeah. So yeah, that wraps up the Nuggets games over the last month or so. I'm gonna go into just a few more things I wanted to talk about, and then we'll end it here because I think we're looking at over an hour now. Michael Porter Jr. since the All-Star break has been fantastic. He's been a huge reason why the Nuggets have been amazing since the All-Star break. We're sitting at 11-2 since the All-Star break, best record in the league. And Porter's been putting up nearly 20 points per game, 7.5 rebounds. And we're not going to pay attention to the assist because it doesn't matter. But he's been great, man. I'm just so happy that he's like really been turning it up lately because he doesn't always get the time to shine, because he's our third, sometimes fourth option just in general. But he had that amazing game against the Lakers where he didn't even miss, and he's had a bunch of games since then where he's been great. He had 34 against the Blazers, 30 against the Heat in that game where we didn't score a lot. He was big. So yeah, shout out to Michael Porter Jr. Also shout out to my friend Jared, who hates Michael Porter Jr. no matter what he does. He's a big Nuggets fan like me, but he hates Michael Porter. I'll never understand why. So yeah, shout out to Mike. MVP ladder. This is the latest MVP ladder according to the league. Jokić is sitting at first. It seems like at this point Jokić is going to win his third MVP in 4 years, which is really exciting, just for the storylines for that, because I think in real time he's becoming one of the greatest players we've ever seen, and it's really cool to watch. I've been closely following the Nuggets. I was loosely following them, most of my life, but I've been closely following them since about 2018, and he's unbelievable. Number 2, they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, very respectable. Number 3, Giannis. Number 4, Tatum. Number 5, Luka. These are definitely the top 5 candidates in my opinion, but I would change the order of them quite a bit. As it stands right now, the Mavericks are number 7 in the West, but they're literally tied with the Kings for 6th. I think that if the Mavs can manage to make the playoffs like as a top 6 team, I'd say you give the MVP to Luka Doncic. Like, if they make the play-in, that's a different story. But if they can make the playoffs, like, his stats are unbelievable, man. Like, this guy, he's a one-man army. I would personally put him at number, not right now, but I put him at number 2. I'd go Jokić, Luka, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis, Tatum. Not to say that Tatum isn't having a great season. He is, but he's also, like, I'm sorry, but these guys, like, have less, and they're doing great stuff as well with less. Like, I don't know. Just, you know, Tatum's having a great year, but, like, he's not, like, these 4 guys, I fear, are clearly above them. Or him, at least. And, you know, Shai's having a great year, too, but, like, Luka, like, the only thing stopping him from winning MVP, in my book, would be not making the playoffs. That would be pretty detrimental, I feel. But, yeah, that's my MVP ranking. Jokić, Luka, Shai, Giannis, Tatum. Last few things I wanted to show before we get out of here. Bam Adebayo had I talked about him earlier in my list. He had a great play last night against the Pistons. I'll let it play out.
15 seconds left, tie game. Cade for 3. Off the rim, 6 seconds, 5. Rozier to forecourt. 2 seconds, 1. Bam Adebayo from the top, and he triples. Bam Adebayo with an improving three-point shot. I think he...
Okay, that should have been a lot more hype because that was awesome. And the announcer just seemed to not be interested at all. I know he's a Pistons announcer, but, like, come on, dude, it's a buzzer beater. Yeah, shout out to Bam. He's been a much improved three-point shooter this season. They got a game winner over the Pistons last night. This was also something insane that happened about a week and a half ago. Same night as the Nuggets Celtics, actually. The Wolves and Pacers had quite a crazy finish, and I'll just let you watch it.
Substituting and matching up here.
Edwards can't hit the second. Pacers have a chance. Up ahead, Neesmith blocked. Edwards getting up, and good night.
That's wild. So Ant-Man, as you know, who I put in my top 10 for players in the league this season,
Matching up here.
has a chance to put them up by 3, and he actually ends up missing the free throw here. But he stays focused on defense. He starts running back, and he sees, I don't know who that is on the Pacers, but he's going up for the layup, and Ant-Man, he got so high up there, he, like, hit his head on the backboard. Like, oh my gosh, that he was interviewed after this, and he said that that's the greatest play he's ever made in his life, and he fell down, and, like, oh my goodness, that's tough, man. That's tough. Last thing I wanted to show you guys was this insane ending a couple weeks ago from the Cavs Mavs game. I'll just let the footage do the talking.
We'll send it all the way back to Karis LeVert. So the shot clock is off. LeVert bounces off to Mitchell. Cavs will play keep away here. Dallas looks for a steal. Garland, he's tackled. Whoa, by Green, nothing was called. And the Cavs take a timeout. Oh my goodness. Mobley to inbound. The Mavs look to deny. Whoa, that ball's knocked out of bounds. Mavericks ball. Again, the Cavs were out of timeouts. Dallas will use a timeout here.
In this situation, you can't have anybody get an easy shot.
Kleba has that tip by Mobley, but Doncic gets it back. Doncic dumps inside Washington, puts it in. 2 seconds left. The Cavs are out of timeouts. They have to go 94 feet. Strus from midcourt. Oh! Do you believe this?
Whoa. Wow. So they went from the Mavs almost stealing the ball to Cleveland calling a timeout on the inbound pass. They turn it over, and then the Mavs inbound it and almost turn it over, and Luka comes down with like this like crazy no-look pass for a wide open layup. And at this point, I was watching this live. I was like, wow, this has been a crazy game. So yeah, here's the tip. Luka somehow gets it back and doesn't even look, dumps it off. That's a free layup. There's 2.5 seconds left. They have no timeouts. The game is over. Bearing a miracle.
2 seconds
that's
left.
exactly
The Cavs
what
are out of
happened.
timeouts. They have to go 94
Max
feet.
Strus.
From
Game.
midcourt. Oh!
And I just want to say that swish, that was like one of the most pure swishes I've ever heard in my life. Wow. If you missed that till now, I'm very sorry, but yeah, definitely. There's been some insane buzzer. That's probably the most insane buzzer beater I've seen this season. Not even because it was from half court, but they were also down. Like it's not like they would have just went into overtime. If he missed that, they would have lost, but they won. So yeah, really good stuff all around the league. I'm happy to be back. Hopefully, I can make it a little more regular. But yeah, thanks for everybody for listening or watching or however you were getting to this. I really appreciate it. Yeah, the Nuggets are they're back, so hey, look forward to the playoffs, Nuggets Nation. Let's get another championship. Thanks for tuning in to Rockin with the Brocklin. I will check you guys out in a bit. See ya.